it's really down to the Sixers and Knicks at this point to me. So, do the Knicks want to give up Kemba and a young piece, or is Ben Simmons enough? If you're the Trailblazers, no, but as a centerpiece, because the centerpiece is going to be the young piece from the Knicks, and then 2 or 3 other superior pieces, and then on top of that, just everything else. So, I don't really know.
Well, yeah, Ben Simmons definitely could be a piece, again, and it works financially in terms of swapping the big contracts. Obviously, Lillard's contract is a much better contract than Ben Simmons is, but in terms of financially, they're both pretty large where they could try to make up the money to get that to work because they have to match the contracts. And the Sixers, they don't have as much draft picks when it comes to that as the Knicks do, where they could give those extra picks away. And obviously in the NBA, you have to do it by year type thing. So you have to do the 2022, then the 2024 first round pick, stuff like that. But again, the Sixers, do they have enough other young pieces that they might want to give away in that kind of deal? Guys like a guy like Matisse Thybulle, who played well last year. Obviously, Tobias Harris is still, again, a core piece, but again, he's still young enough where he might have to end up going in that kind of deal too, especially if they don't have to give away the extra draft picks. That's where the Knicks, I think, because of the Blazers, especially if they lose McCollum, they're going to be rebuilding, then the Knicks are definitely more when it comes to the young pieces. The Sixers have the core pieces with Embiid, with Simmons, guys like that are known, but in terms of like young depth, the Knicks have that advantage too. Now, if there's a third team that gets involved too, which is interesting, then maybe somebody else takes on that money with somebody like a Tobias Harris if they want to shuffle that around, and the Knicks and the Sixers could end up saving money that way, where they could pay Damian Lillard even more too, especially if they do end up getting the Simmons contract off the books. Because, again, that Simmons contract, besides this kind of deal, is going to be very tough to move as it is, because he's a good passer for sure, and inside player, but not much else in his career, and defense too, I guess. But at that price, it's going to be very hard for him to be a cornerstone, especially what you saw in the playoffs, where the Hawks kept fouling him and really exposing him for the terrible free throw shooter that he was. And it really demoralized him and demoralized that Sixers team, who really didn't overcome much after that against a Hawks team that, give them credit the way they played, but still weren't supposed to go anywhere this postseason.
No, but they're a young, good team. And honestly, I really just can't quite get over the fact that Damian Lillard changed his mind again. Like, who in Portland is communicating with Damian Lillard? Who? He's the best player your franchise has ever had. So the fact now that we're talking about this guy now saying twice in about when the Olympics start. Twice in 3 months?
Yeah, 2-3 weeks
that
ago.
He wants out. That's not good. And you brought in Chauncey Billups specifically to appease Damian Lillard. And he hated it. Now, I'm not saying there's a problem in Portland, but you haven't been relevant really in about 20 years. The last franchise guy you even had was Brandon Roy, and then obviously, he had bad luck.
Right.
But Greg Oden didn't work out for you. And for a long time, you were just taking on veterans to kind of, I don't even know, tank. It really is what they were doing for a long time. So I don't know. Damian Lillard panned out, but you had to make him happy, and now he's gone. He's gone. You have to trade Damian Lillard now.
Ben says, came on late, so I'm not sure if this is mentioned. Current talk is Lillard to 76ers, and the Blazers would send Simmons, Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle, the 2022 first-round pick, and the 2024 first-round pick. Yeah, that would probably be likely.
Keep Ben Simmons?
No. They would send Simmons, Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle. Yeah, that would probably be reasonable. I was trying to think. I forgot about Tyrese Maxey. He actually played very well as that sixth-man type role for the Sixers last year. So, yeah, that's another option they definitely could have. Carl says, remember when Scottie Pippen was on the Jailblazers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I was actually going to bring him up specifically because that's where he went. But I it's just so hard to let a franchise player like him go. And Philly right now has got to be salivating because they got to be like, oh, thank God we got another shot to get rid of Ben Simmons.
Mm-hmm. And again, they're one of.
I'm gonna be honest though, I don't think it's enough.
The offer Ben sent, or
yeah, I don't.
Would you add another first round pick, another young player? You get a third team involved. Because the third team
I
idea,
want a third team.
The third team idea is definitely intriguing.
Portland to me, they're just not there. They're not there. And what I mean by that is you lost Melo, who was your third best scorer. You brought in Norman Powell, who really looked lost when he got traded from Toronto. McCollum, as good as he is, he really, to me, has regressed in a Robin role since. I mean, he's also been hurt on and off. But I don't think Portland alone. If you trade Damian Lillard, you are putting up the white flag and you're starting from scratch. And you don't have anything. And this really goes back to them trading Gary Trent because Damian Lillard was completely blindsided by that. So they were like, why would you trade Gary Trent? He's young, he can shoot, he can score. Lillard and him got along very well. And you had four guys, because Melo was still there, that could go out there and shoot the lights out. So now you've lost Melo. You traded Trent. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. You appease a top 10 player in the league. You do.
Carl asks, who wore the headband better, Rasheed Wallace or Cliff Robinson?
I'm going to go with Rasheed Wallace.
Mm-hmm. Ben
Wallace also was probably the best answer, but you didn't give me that option.
Ben also says, also current talk, Warriors receive Bradley Beal and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Wizards receive Wiggins, Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody. So the 2 draft picks from this year plus Wiseman and Wiggins.
I would make a counteroffer to that. Keep KCP, please. And I would send Wiggins and the 2 draft picks from this year in a first. James Wiseman is, and I believe this is Beal's walk year, right?
He has a player option after this year.
Okay, he's opting out. He's gonna get the max, so he's opting out. I think that's more than fair for a guy that's gonna hit the free agent market, and Golden State can't sign him. I shouldn't say that. It's going to be incredibly hard for Golden State to re-sign him.
Yeah, not to mention, I don't think Golden State really needs KCP anyway. They have enough shooters as it is.
No, not only that. KCP, you want to talk about depth, Golden State does not need him. Not even for that. They don't need him at all, period.
Right.
So I would be more than happy to not get KCP. Now, here's the thing. Washington probably doesn't want KCP either.
Yeah, okay. But again, if you're going to do a salary dump, we see that in other sports too. Sometimes that diminishes the contract if you're trying to end up doing that. And I just don't think the Warriors necessarily need that. That maybe, again, another...
They can't do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they probably couldn't either.
Wiggins' contract would probably make just enough room for Beal. And then adding KCP's contract, the Wiseman and the rookies aren't making up KCP's contract at all. So, unless he signed a vet minimum to stay on the Lakers last year. But I don't think that's true. I thought he signed a pretty good deal with them. I thought it was like 2 years, $30-something million. Mm-hmm. So I don't see KCP being able to go. I'll tell you this though, if Damian Lillard does get traded to Philly and Bradley Beal's gone, I can't see Bradley Beal starting the year on the Wizards. I mean, all signs point to him opting out and leaving. If he gets hurt at any point during the season, Washington's screwed. If he underperforms next year for any reason at all, Washington's screwed. If he holds out, Washington's screwed. The Wizards cannot afford to go into the season with him on their team. And I think that's part of the reason they traded Russ. Okay, we got Kuzma, who's a young piece. All right. Maybe that's going to get Bradley Beal to stay. Maybe. But I can't see, for the life of me, everyone being like, oh, that's a great idea. Bah, 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 bah. No. Bradley Beal looked at that trade and said, I just lost a top 10 player in the league to play with Kyle Kuzma, KCP, and what was the other piece?
Montrezl Harrell.
Montrezl Harrell's underrated. But
I agree. Mm-hmm.
But that ain't making him stay in Washington. To be coached by who?
No, I don't even remember. It was one of their assistants.
Scott Brooks?
No, he's gone.
Oh, he is fired. That's right.
They hired from within.
Yeah. So Bradley Beal will not play. I can't see Bradley Beal playing a game as a Wizard this year. There's too much for the Wizards to lose, which goes back to my old saying: if you're late to this party, you're severely late to this party. You lose everything if you don't trade right. And Bradley Beal, even last year, before the Russ trade, you got the vibe that Bradley Beal was gone. And then it was like, oh, well, we got you, Russ. And Bill was like, okay. All right. We'll see how that works.
Well, Russ was obviously he's way better player now, but Russ was their main incentive to go after John Wall. There wasn't going to be much better offers for them other than getting Russell Westbrook and trying to see if that would work there, too. So,
well, right, really but hold on about that. Who said Bradley Beal wanted John Wall traded?
Yeah,
there were rumors they didn't get along.
I think not that. I think John Wall wanted out. I don't know if it was because of Beal. I think they were going to move him regardless, even if it just was a rebuilding type move. So you're right. I never heard anything where they didn't get along because they were even so the last couple of years with Wall's injuries they were barely on the court, and Beal actually played like a point guard in a lot of those instances too when Wall was hurt. And
I think Beal played his best basketball when Wall was hurt.
Yeah, and he grew his all-around game.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I think he's even underrated defensively, Beal. Now he's not locked down like Klay Thompson or Draymond or Simmons, but he's like that Luka Doncic above average. You know, he's better than people say he is. Defender, because in Florida he didn't play. I don't think he played defense at all.
No.
So he's improved dramatically, but. With that being said, if those two trades happen, Philly to me becomes the second best team in the East.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think Miami right now is the best team in the East, and I really don't even think Lillard going to Philly really changes that. If they could get like at some point during the year, maybe a disgruntled guy's like, I want out. Or something like that, then that's one thing. But as current teams can stand, it would be Miami, Philly, Milwaukee. Then, if Beal goes to the Warriors, just give them a chip. Just give it to them.
Well, they have to stay healthy.
If those 7 guys stay healthy, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Well, it depends on how much they would have to trade, though, too. Because if they lose a lot of that core,
I don't think it's going to take that much.
If they lose a lot of that core, though, like these rumors are going with, where the young players and the front court players especially, too, they're going to be I would say more of a smaller team that, again, they still have all the shooting to do that, but then they're going to be better than the Nets, but like a better version of the Nets where they're going to lack depth, though, too, and that's something that could be concerning in the Western Conference. Because remember, when the Warriors won their championships, they had solid depth as well. It was Livingston off the bench. They had obviously Harrison Barnes, and he started a little bit too, but they had the big men off the bench that played well. So I don't know if they necessarily have that right now, especially if they do have to trade away all those pieces. I know Jordan Poole played well for them at times, and the kid from Villanova, I'm drawing a blank on his name, Omari Spellman, he played well for them at times too, but they're not really like these trustworthy, all right, they're going to be this lethal, trustworthy bench guys that you could say. So that's the only thing that would concern me if they do make that kind of trade for Lillard. Yes, it would be probably the best 3-guard system we've ever seen, but I feel like they would just be the Nets strapped in the Western Conference, and they're better than the Nets are, but they're just still, that could be hard in a very tough Western Conference. That's also bigger, too, keep that in mind. It's more of the mixtures that win the game now, You need to shoot, obviously, but it's more the mixtures that win the game rather than the Warriors in the mid part of last decade are the way they won.